What's up, Ego Hackers? CS Joseph, and want to do something a little bit different today. I had an opportunity to check out the Dolan Twins' recent video that they did, and I thought it was fantastic, actually. And I really wanted to share with you guys some of my reactions to some of the stuff they put out, because a lot of it like seriously hit home for me. And it's kind of nice too, because of like the example that they're setting for other people, you know, as young people themselves, and then also going even further than that. And while I would admit I don't know very much about them, I mean, we can all get to know them a little bit more right now, because I'm going to psychoanalyze them, like literally right now. So let's just dive into that and go for it from there. So I got two videos that I chose for the Dolan Twins. I'm going to be looking at Grayson and Ethan for the sake of this video. Hopefully it's not too long, but we can get through it together. The two videos that I chose are the videos that I maintain are probably like the most real that I can, you know, tell, like where they are like being the most real to themselves within these particular videos. And that's their most recent addressing assumptions about this video, as well as Ethan coming out and his brother assisting him, just coming clean about his struggles with acne and you know, how that's been really messing with him mentally, etc. So it's just pretty cool to have that opportunity to check that out. So yeah, let's just dive right in. We're gonna psychoanalyze both of them and then see if we can identify with some of their struggles for our own struggles, you know, within our daily lives. So let's get this going.
All right. I guess we'll just talk about what people have been saying about us and what we've been avoiding.
Talk about what people are saying about us. All right, let's do that. It kind of came off like really initiating right at the beginning, although I know that some of this video is scripted, but actually the part where they're starting to sit on the couch, it seems where it's getting like a lot less scripted, and they're actually just being unscripted. So for Ethan, I'm going to put a point down for initiating. He's also wearing a really comfortable sweatshirt, which is usually indicative of an introverted sensor. So I'm going to put a point down for earth and water as well for Ethan so far, just based off of like these couple of seconds. So let's just keep going. As things unfold, we're just going to just go right through it, you know, as it goes. Hopefully we can get through these videos pretty quick.
I guess we should do it. No, but
I guess we should do that. Okay, yeah. So Grayson also initiated at that point, and talking about when someone's talking about we should in that context, that's more of an extroverted sensing approach. Although it can be said by an NE user. So you know, hopefully as we're gathering more data, we'll start to see, you know, where they're actually lining up, you know, within the psychoanalyst, following the type grid process as we go. So let's keep going.
Seriousness, we have been seeing people saying a lot of stuff about us online.
I mean, for our whole lives we've seen it, but now more than ever, and I think that's because everyone just wants to see everyone fall.
I think there's an obvious common theme in the world.
Everyone just wants to see everybody fall. That's a really good example of extroverted feeling on Grayson's part. So definitely TIFE. So far he's starting to look like a Templar, even though we haven't gathered enough data yet, but we're going to keep going.
Now where everyone's just trying to tear everybody down, and we happen to be some of those people that
everyone's just trying to tear everyone down. That's also an extroverted feeling statement on the part of Ethan. So we have extroverted feeling for Ethan so far. So he's looking like a crusader. So we have Ethan's looking like a crusader, and then we have Grayson starting to look like a Templar. So getting a little interesting. So let's keep going.
that people are trying to tear down. And yeah, not gonna lie, I don't like it. Why would I like it?
Makes you live like very paranoid.
And not gonna lie, I don't like it. Now, when people typically say that, they think introverted feeling, but he's like, you know, but then he follows it up saying, well, why would I like that? Okay, that's actually a TI statement. So it looks like an FI statement, but it turns into a TI statement. So that's actually introverted thinking right there for Ethan as he makes that statement.
Lifestyle. Like, could you imagine a bunch of people just watching you with a magnifying glass, like just waiting for you and wanting you to slip up?
Could you imagine someone looking at you like a magnifying glass and they're just waiting for you to slip up? that's actually an extroverted sensing statement because he's talking about the pressure from a lower introverted sensing standpoint, the amount of pressure that he feels to actually perform. And an extroverted sensor would have those feelings consistently, especially when they're under the microscope in that way, which is kind of funny because extroverted sensors are kind of hypocritical in that way, especially Templar types. They can be pretty hypocritical in that way because it's like, okay, hey, I'm actually, I keep everybody else under a microscope, but I myself, I don't really want to be a microscope. So it's kind of like, okay, yeah, where it is. By the way, it's kind of like really cold in my office. It's kind of why I'm all bundled up right now, but hashtag introverted sensing. So that's actually an SE statement, so that's an air statement, so fire plus air. So definitely going to be doing a point for NISE for Grayson. Let's keep going.
It's just like not really a cool feeling.
Yeah. Also, trending you #1 about how you're over.
Yeah, you guys saw that, bro. Our is over party was trending.
Yeah, Dolan Twins is over.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about
Dolan Twins is over. Okay, not really, but that wasn't exactly relevant to this. I think after watching these videos, they're very much not over, quite frankly. And I'm a fan. I didn't even know who these people were, and after watching some of their content recently, like I seriously identify with these people in a lot of ways, and I'll be getting to that in a few seconds.
Dolan Twins is over.
Yeah, it was very grammatically correct too, so it was like kind of, I knew people were serious. Because the
I knew people were serious. That's a TI statement. So we'll put a red point there for Grayson.
internet right now is very toxic for me. I had our team pull a bunch of assumptions that were made about us so that we can read them and address them and let you guys know what we think about them. And
so I had my team do this thing for us. That's an extroverted sensing statement. He's being very direct, directing them throughout the process. And then he states the outcome in the sentence. So far, Grayson looks direct, initiating outcome from that standpoint, which is pretty cool. And I would like to say concrete so far, but let's keep going. I want to gather a little bit more evidence.
actual truth behind all these assumptions.
The actual truth behind all these assumptions. So that is stating the outcome, and again, it's another TI statement for Grayson as well, because he's trying to like basically verify people's assumptions.
I think it'll be healthy for my paranoia to kind of just get everything out there and let you guys know what's actually real and what's actually fake. You gotta stop drinking that and burping. We're getting serious. I'm just gonna finish.
He's like, you gotta stop drinking that and burping. Okay, so he's he's like, bro, that just like really made me uncomfortable right now. So that's his introverted sensing coming out. So that's an SI approach from that. He also initiated that as well, so that was a. So he's like being, very initiatory in that process. So let's keep going.
Dude, they were right, dude. You do drink beer.
Root beer. This is full transparency.
You were right. You do drink beer. Root beer. He was being sarcastic. I could argue a point of abstraction there because he was joking, but not necessarily. But potentially a point, maybe a half a point of abstraction for Ethan. So let's keep going.
We're about to get juicy. Probably juicier than you've ever seen the Dolan Twins get. So, let's begin. All right.
Yeah, I got acne for views. I injected hormones into my neck via needle.
He drank lots of milk too for the past 2 years in order to get it.
He drank lots of milk too. Okay, so that's another initiation point for Grayson, just kind of making fun of that as well. And both of them actually made the way that they presented that was presented in terms of pragmatism. They're both being pragmatic with those statements because in their joking, they're insanely annoyed. They're using sarcasm in a way that could actually, potentially come off as offensive to certain people, especially sensitive people, etc. So the way that they just made that statement just now, that's an example of pragmatism. So they're being pragmatic in the process, both of them. So kind of interesting that, we have two pragmatic brothers here. And we have one that looks like a Crusader and another one that looks like a Templar so far. And we seem to have Grayson's interaction style direct initiating, outcome going. But I want to hear a little bit more from Ethan before we get going.
Yeah, I didn't cut out dairy
Because everyone knows when you pop a pimple, the white stuff that comes out, that's just cheese.
That's just fucking cheese.
Oh well, very very expert sensing there. I mean, everyone knows it just comes out. It's just cheese talking about those mechanics. That's an expert sensing statement, and some expert feeling jest. Another initiation. He's still direct. He's still stating direct. And he's also outcome focused because he stated a fake outcome, but it's just being funny. So it is what it is. So far, I'm gonna put a point down for concreteness for Grayson as well. So let's keep going. Gosh, need to hurry. Let's see here.
Oh, bro, acne solved. Yeah, no, honestly, that was all full sarcasm. I have had a really long struggle with acne, as I tried to tell everybody about for 35 minutes in our last video, but maybe I guess some people didn't really get the point. Yeah, I've done everything in my power to not get acne, and I still got acne. It was hormonal.
Yeah, he starts talking about his experience. He's sharing his experiences and his struggles with acne, etc., which is very, very interesting as well. Speaking of that, I'm actually just going to go pop over into his actual acne video, which I think is bloody amazing. It's one of the best pieces of content I've ever seen on YouTube. So let's check this out. There's a particular scene that I really enjoyed in this video, like right at the very beginning. Look at that. Look at that. Just look at that introverted sensing, wearing that black, big comfy hoodie, just sitting there just like, meh, I don't really care. You know what I'm saying? Like that's from a visual typing standpoint, that's definitely going to earn him a point for introverted sensing for sure, for Ethan. Because that's Ethan right there sitting in his black sweatshirt. That's definitely a point. Let's keep going.
All right, so we don't really have much of a plan.
All right, so yeah, we don't really have much of a plan. Okay, that's interesting. That may be more indicative of a P-type instead of a J-type due to the lack of planning. So that's pretty interesting. And I have to put a point down for progression with him because it's like, hey, I'm not really down for, a plan here. So that's just kind of what it is. And he's also being a matter of fact from a TIFE standpoint when he says that.
On how to go about making this video, but our only plan should...
Interesting. I actually made a mistake on my board. That is supposed to be a blue tick mark, not a red one. It's kind of hard to keep track of both colors. But hey, we're looking at twins right now, folks. It's pretty awesome.
Be to keep it as real as possible.
We need to keep it as real as possible. He's stating his own duty. He's stating that it's his duty to keep it as real as possible. He's also being very TIFE about it as well.
I really don't want to sugarcoat anything because I feel like that could be really damaging.
You wanted to make this video because you realize that there are many other people out there struggling with issues regarding self-image.
So that's Grayson saying you want to make this video because you realize people are struggling in this area with self-worth, body image. That's extroverted sensing, stating the other people's experiences. He's TIing it out in the process. He's also stating the interest of his brother. So that's actually a point for Grayson being interest-based at the same time. So that's pretty cool.
I mean, right now I can tell there's a lot of pressure on you.
Yeah.
Right now I can tell there's a lot of pressure on you. That is an extroverted sensing statement. It's so great because like my wife, she's an SE hero and she's always aware of when I have a lot of pressure on me, etc. So yeah, that's pretty cool that Grayson's right there for his brother in the process.
Because you want to say everything.
I don't want to miss anything because I just feel like, I don't know, I'm just walking such a fine line because I remember how fragile I was.
Yeah, I'm walking in such a fine line because I remember how fragile I was. That was that's an SI statement specifically, and also it's an SE or an FE statement talking about how fragile he was as a result. Not only that, I have to put a point down for informative because he kind of went way outside of the boundaries with a little bit of beating around the bush right there, so it's a form of informative. So it looks like Ethan is informative, initiating progression with his interaction style. And given that he is a crusader, that means Ethan Dolan could be an ESFJ or he could be an ENTP, one of the two. So that's pretty interesting. And in terms of Grayson Dolan so far, it's really looking like he's a Templar, direct initiating outcome Templar with concrete interest pragmatic in there, which would also place Grayson Dolan as an ESTP. So these people, there's a potential for 2 ETPs right now. Based on the data that we have so far, it's looking like that so far. So let's keep going.
You know what I mean? And I don't want to say anything that's gonna like with someone.
I know what you mean.
He doesn't want to say anything that's going to, like, you know, screw somebody over. That's expert intuition, because he's aware of the consequences of anyone's actions, basically. Expert intuition is all about consequences. And so that's another point for expert intuition with that statement, which is pretty awesome of him. It's also an extroverted feeling approach about it as well. And he seems to be making kind of an affiliative approach with it, because this seems very affiliative. Do I think this is him in his natural state? Not so much, because in the last video we just saw, he wasn't really, you know, being this emotional. And you could tell he's very, very uncomfortable. And because of how uncomfortable and insecure he looks, it sounds like he's going into his ISFJ shadow if he's an ENTP, because of the lack of comfort.
You know, or give anyone like a false sense of reality or some shit. Like, we have to keep it like 1,000,000% real, because shit got real.
We have to keep it 1,000,000% real. He's doing an introverted sensing duty boundary, and we have to tell the truth. Again, more introverted sensing and more extroverted feeling as a result. It is technically a point for affiliative still, but again, I maintain that he is in his subconscious. He's also stating that this is his system, the system about what he wants to do.
We have to keep it. There's no more writing shit down ever again for this channel.
There is no more writing any of this down for this channel, like, ever again. He just wants it to be as real AF. That is a very systematic approach. And honestly, like, guys, I really identify with that, because I don't like writing things down. I don't like, you know, even having lecture notes or an outline or anything about, like, any of the content that, like, I make for you guys. Like, I don't even want to, like, do any of that, because the thing is that, like, it just comes off like I'm just some kind of, like, bullshit charlatan who's just trying to mislead you people, when I'm actually, like, trying to show you people, like, who your actual identity is and who you are as, like, your own person, you know, instead of, like, you know, like, people seeing me as this person who's just trying to make money off everyone, which I'm not. Like, I'd still do this channel even if I was living out of a car, you know, and I've been homeless 3 times before. I could do it again. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't care about that stuff. I actually really care about you guys, you know. And just, like, that's just reality, you know, and I can definitely identify where Ethan is coming from here, because he sees it as his sacred duty as much as I see it as my sacred duty to actually do this. You know what I'm saying?
That's it. We podcast, we freeball, that's it.
Okay.
Yeah, we podcast, we freeball, that's it. Okay, again, that's pragmatism right there. That is straight up pragmatism, which I really admire, because that's how I do it too. I freestyle basically everything. It's funny because someone in the a few people in the community that was in my crew for the meetup group in the Bay, they actually watched me, you know, film a lecture in my own home basically, and it's like, yeah, you know, I'm just free doing it, because, like, it's all in here and I could just get it out there. I don't have to, like, plan literally everything. Every now and then I have to, but really not so much. And I really identify where Ethan is coming from here.
It'll look good.
Listen, we're not writing it down. I just have points here because this has been something that you've been up against.
Okay, we're not writing anything down. Okay, so that's Grayson making his brother more comfortable with extroverted sensing, which is awesome. And then he's like, hey, I got some points we need to talk about. That's TI, you know, within that regard. But he's also stating that from an outcome point of view. Hey, I got some points. That way it's going to guarantee that this video is going to have a good outcome. That's all it is. Measure twice, cut once. That's an outcome approach. This is why this is why Grayson Dolan is an ESTP, direct initiating outcome as a result, Templar, etc. You know, and he's just being super concrete about it.
Every single day for the past 6 months of your life.
Yeah, I know.
I've been by your side through this entire thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like Grayson's saying, like, hey man, you know, I've been there with you. I've seen you. I know what the experiences that you've been having, you know.
And I've almost lived your story just through an alternate perspective.
I've been living your story through an alternate perspective. This is an ESTP literally talking about the Templar mirror. Amazing. Absolutely fantastic.
So, I have some questions and some conversations that I think that I can bring up that'll help you tell your story, because I know you have a lot on your mind right now.
So he's trying to help his brother be comfortable enough to tell his story. His extroverted sensing hero is locking in on his brother's introverted sensing. You know, and speaking of which, you know, given that we have informed initiating movement, points-wise, I'm really leaning towards, and the fact that I identify with Ethan, I'm really leaning towards like him being an ENTP.
Okay.
Gosh, you can see him just nodding his head right there, and how insecure he is with his introverted sensing, fear of the unfamiliar, something he hasn't done before. This is it's crazy. You won't really see that with an ESFJ. You just won't. ESFJs are like really, really sure. Yeah, I'll do it, or yeah, I'm not going to do it because of introverted sensing parent. But introverted sensing inferior has to be coaxed a lot more. You just feel this guy's pain.
Do I have the colors right?
Yeah. Wow, that's the first time I looked at myself in a viewfinder in the past 6 months, and
Introverted sensing statement. Just looking at himself in the camera and just how much that bothers him. Like, I'll be honest with you guys, like, I seriously identify with Ethan here because for myself, like, I've had this huge struggle with obesity, like, my whole life. I used to weigh 300 pounds. I know what it's like to be completely unwanted with how fat you are. And the first time I really, like, when I was being ridiculed in school, when I was always picked last for anything, I was literally seen as this person who's absolutely worthless from, like, an athletic standpoint. And it was always made me feel uncomfortable, unsafe. I was beaten multiple times, especially by ESTPs, actually, that I knew, and who often would misjudge me and my intentions because they assume my actions and intentions are the same, which from an ENTP point of view, they're not the same. So based on that, like, just seeing the pain of Ethan go through this situation, like, I completely identify with it because it's exactly something similar that I went through. The feeling of not being valued by other people because of this physical problem that you have, or the fact that, that you're not desired with extrovert intuition hero. It's extremely painful to an ENTP, and I could totally see where, he's coming from in this point. But let's keep going.
didn't immediately want to shut the camera off.
So he's talking about how he didn't immediately want to shut the camera off and how he's having to utilize self-discipline, introverted sensing, aspirational to actually get through this, which is incredible.
Let me see again.
I think you look good.
I think you look good. Like that's some amazing encouragement from his ESTP brother, using TI parent, FE child right there, and then making his brother even more comfortable with the SE hero. You can tell that Grayson has had to coax and convince Ethan and make Ethan as comfortable as possible to even get this far because of just how necessary it is. And the INFJ subconscious from Grayson is coming out and trying to improve his brother as much as possible and strengthen his brother. And his brother is absorbing that strength. It's truly beautiful to watch, folks. This is and oftentimes this is actually sometimes how my own marriage works. Railgun does this for me consistently, and I absolutely love her for it. Having this kind of support like that. Even me as an ENTP, even with me with having like FI Trickster and knowing things that I just don't value, but I know what other people value. Oftentimes I ignore. Oftentimes I have to ignore and develop a habit of ignoring what other people value. For the sake of my own self. And my own dignity or my own self-image, as it were. But self-image is actually extremely a big deal to SI inferior. It really is, because any hero just wants to be wanted so much and desired by other people so much.
They're gone. All right. What did you want to ask? This feels too set up. Just take it off the tripod.
Yeah, he wants that real, that he doesn't want to like set up again, it's all about pragmatism. Sometimes the feeling of it's like, okay, yeah, I'm willing to make it set up and make it real just for the sake that, hey, it could be potentially doing the right thing. But in this particular situation, when you have FI Trickster, you're using an example of FI Trickster where it's like, okay, I don't know how I feel about this, so let me just go all the way with it. I want to go all the way with it to guarantee that it's real. It's like an overcompensation where you know that you lack introverted feeling, you lack morals, etc. So you have to make it as real as possible because you know that your feelings make you come off as someone who's fake. And it's really an example of sincerity versus insincerity, virtue and vice, So as a result, absolutely, Ethan Dolan is definitely an ENTP like me, which is fantastic. And I admire his courage, his introverted sensing, endurance, perseverance, and courage to be able to make a video like this. It's incredible, and it's really inspiring, especially as a fellow ENTP.
I don't want it to be like a video. Hey guys, right before we get into the story, we would like to thank Honey for sponsoring this
we got a
video.
little ad
We all shop
here.
online.
It's solid and supporting our...
Throughout this journey, I recognized that you were always looking in your phone. Am I right?
Throughout this journey, you were always looking at his phone. It's okay, yeah, that's Effie Childs and any hero looking in the phone, trying to see what other people are saying. I mean, I've even struggled oftentimes, like, dealing with social media myself, where people are constantly talking crap about me. But, like, the thing is, though, is that I've been used to that attention, that negative attention, since I was 5 years old. And ever since then, it's just become part of my introverted sensing, like, right from the beginning.
Yeah, but
No, you are right. That's it. I guess that's something that I tend to, like, that's something that I tend to do when
I tend to do introverted sensing.
I don't know, I feel like insecure or some shit. I remember
Yeah, SI inferior. Tend to do when I'm insecure. Yeah, SI inferior.
freshman year, like when we went to school and like everyone was always like trying to say shit to us in the hallways and stuff.
Everyone is always trying to say it to us in the hallways. Like, yeah, it happens. I had a similar experience in school as well. Constantly bullied all the time. And my SE demon would come out, and I become insanely violent as a result.
Looking myself in the camera to make sure I didn't have like anything on my face or like something that they could pick out and make fun of me for.
So
yeah, I guess I was kind of back at that spot.
because something I've
When someone's like constantly saying how undesirable you are to your face all the time, it really, really eventually gets to introverted sensing inferior, and it actually can create some negative habits within introverted sensing behavior, and it can lead to an insane amount of bitterness. And that bitterness, you just take it with you wherever you go, to the point where you end up destroying other people's lives in the process with the extroverted sensing demon, because the extroverted sensing demon is looking for the justice as a result of all the bitterness. It's trying to have that. So really the only thing that can happen to an ENTP at that standpoint is literally healing through healing their inferior function. It's just absolutely incredible, because this is exactly the same experience that I had growing up as well. And to see it in Ethan, like, it's like, dang.
I believe is like everyone's camera roll tells a story.
Mm-hmm.
Whether that be of a trip filled with good memories, whatever that story may be. I think that
Extroverted sensing, talking about good memories, etc. And also introverted sensing, nemesis, nostalgia for Grayson.
your camera roll probably would help you tell the story that you're trying to say, right?
Why was it all I would do?
Yeah, so introverted sensing constantly, like, I'll admit, like, I've taken so many photos of myself as well in the mirror, like, when struggling with obesity. And, it's even something I'm struggling with now in some areas. Like, I've been doing a bunch of keto. I got this keto mojo blood meter. It's on my desk at all times, and I'm taking my blood all the time, testing my ketones, testing my blood glucose. There are times where I won't even eat for an entire day if my blood is not where I want it, etc., just to make sure I'm always in optimized fat burning, because I'm just like, dang, I'm 33 years old, and I don't want to have excess body fat anymore. I'm just done with it. I'm just not doing it. And then I go to the gym, and I'm constantly studying people like Dr. Eric Berg, Thomas DeLauer, Fledge Fitness, etc., constantly trying to find, the truth of it, and then finding out that I was an endomorph when I studied Don Venuto was just absolutely just destroyed my ego. But then again, everyone else was already destroying my ego as it was, because I was unwanted because of how obese I was. You know what I'm saying?
So the beginning was around December. It's now July, so yeah, 6 months, 7 months. By the looks of it, I barely had any acne at all. But I vividly remember at this point in my life, I was really insecure about the way my face looked.
Yeah, and I was super insecure about how my body looked, being as to how fat I was. gosh, when you're 14 years old and you're a freshman in high school and you literally discover women for the first time, and then at the same time that you're like all of a sudden like women is a thing and you're like actually attracted to them and whatnot, and then you realize that you were the most undesirable person literally in the entire school, in a school of like over 20 or of over 2,000 people, 2,000 students. It's like, okay, whoa, wait a minute. And that really was extremely painful. And then having my introverted sensing depravity, really leading up to the points of, of my obesity on top of the ignorance of my parents, their ignorance in nutrition, ignorance of health, ignorance in how to conduct their lives and eat clean, all of that. And that ignorance passed on to me. It was a huge struggle. It was an absolutely huge struggle. Whereas, Ethan had, his own struggles, and who knew about the people who enabled him or disabled him going throughout the process. I'm just so thankful that he had a twin brother who was able to provide him all of that support. That's incredible. I've always wanted a brother. Never really had a brother. Like I only have one sister as a sibling. And honestly, I felt so alone growing up. Absolutely so alone growing up. But I think Ethan, however, because he has his brother there, he's been able to get through this struggle. That extroverted sensing from his brother has been able to strengthen the introverted sensing within Ethan to allow him to persevere and endure. Because that's the purpose of extroverted sensing. That's the purpose of the ESTP. And Grayson is living out his purpose for the sake of his brother. And then at the same time, Ethan is living out his purpose as well by enduring the pain of exposing himself to other people for the sake of other people, to give other people a better future, to give people self-confidence and the like. It's absolutely admirable. It's amazing, and it's very inspiring. And that's why I do the work that I do all the time, talking about this psychology, to get people to understand who it is they really actually are, what their life's purpose is, and where they're at is not where they have to stay. What they have is not all that they can have, that they are the head and not the tail, as Ethan has literally proved within this video. Anyway, folks, if you liked what you saw with this video, please subscribe to the channel and leave a like. If you have any comments or questions about this ESTP, ENTP brotherhood, I'll be happy to answer those questions. We might do some follow-up videos on these guys as well, but it's been absolutely amazing. I hope you guys like the new content that I'm going to be rolling out in the near future. So with that being said, folks, I'll see you guys tonight.